Hi. So I decided to come back. Let's do the next little increment. I'm going to try to keep this one kind of short. The last ones were a little bit long, and I feel like I was talking, just rambling about random stuff. So anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about were the actual um, fifth and sixth elements. So I know a lot of people, we are all familiar with earth, air, fire, water, and the typical kind of references to alchemical transformance. But there actually are two more as well that I can think of at least, which are wood and plasma. And those are the two that I wanted to address today. So plasma is it's like DNA. So it is a actual encodable substance that is fluid. So if we were to look up the actual definition of plasma, your TV screen is plasma, first of all. And so we can qualify that as this screen, that screen, all of the screens that we are familiar with watching and staring at all day uh, are made out of plasma. Typically, not all of them, but most of them are. We're getting there. The newer TVs are made out of plasma, at least. It says the colorless fluid part of blood, lymph, or milk in which corpuscles or fat globules are suspended, right? That's the first, it's a noun. The second is an ionized gas consisting of positive ions and free electrons in proportions resulting in more or less no overall electric charge. So that 0 point charge, it's kind of the Fool card if you are familiar with tarot. Typically at low pressures, as in the upper atmosphere and in fluorescent lamps, or at a very high temperature, as in stars and nuclear fusion reactors. So, the current passed through a column of plasma. This is more or less like an empty. So, if you think about, if you know Dan Brown's book, I don't know if you guys have read any of those, but he does have one about Dante's Inferno. It's just called Inferno. And it's talking about a biological warfare cell that is empty. And they're able to put whatever virus they want into the cell and make it go all over the world, basically into an epidemic like what we're going through right now. So this cell, or the idea of an empty cell that could be injected with whatever we want and then distributed, that's the same thing that basically plasma is. That's what your DNA is. That's why DNA would be able to be distributed in such a way. So that's plasma. The other is wood. Obviously wood, as in the tree trunks, branches, twigs, sticks, tinder. That's all wood. And it's very obviously common on the earth, but it's also common underwater. There's actual like underwater, although we have like fossilized forests underwater, like coral reefs and whatnot. There's also wood that, I mean, has actually been alive for an entire who knows how long, and then submerged for who knows how long. So there's wood on both ends of things, right? There's also, when we're thinking about the word would, then it's like I woulda, shoulda, coulda, you know? When you get wood, it's like you have a lot of passion for someone, or when men say that, oh my gosh, I just caught wood. Sometimes that's what they mean. And that then results in DNA. The two are very interesting to think about in relation to each other. And they're also very interesting to think about in relation to the elements themselves. So when you're thinking about, I don't know, let's think about the ocean. The ocean beaches were the edges of that cell. that we were talking about, the empty cell that we can then inject with whatever. I guess you could say that wood is kind of like that, because in the inside of wood runs sap that we then make into maple syrup, etc., etc. However, on the inside of, obviously, when you're trying to mix DNA together, you can make babies, you can make viruses, or you can make like plants and animals, etc., like other kind of mammals or whatever the case may be. There's a synergy between the two. There's a liquid, there's a solid, and then there's also kind of this spiritual nature to the both. You can Bluetooth yourself into your speakers while you're talking and driving. That looked really crazy when it first came out. I would imagine that if, somebody from a culture who had been extremely, undeveloped country or something like that came and looked at this, they would say, hey, that there's something weird going on. I don't know how they're communicating. Cordless technology looks almost magical when it first comes out. The same thing happens with plasma. The transference of energy, though, and signals, radio waves, or any kind of vibrational frequency between the two devices that are communicating. I'm sorry, I'm like pointing this way. I'm looking at my Bluetooth over there. More or less, it's the same thing that happens when a man impregnates a woman. It's a transference of energy, of momentum, of fluids, and there's a whole lot of different ways that you can kind of take it and look at it, and I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to go super into it because I don't want to teach sex ed right now, but I just wanted to mention that there is also wood and plasma to take into consideration, and I think especially when trying to break down your senses, your sensory input, your olfactory is your noses, your mouth obviously is your taste, so like your taste buds, then obviously like your visual, auditory, you've got all of these things, lingual, there's tactile, touch, you've got all of these senses that you can use in different ways. When you think about the fact that women have menstrual cycles, that's kind of their plasma output, if you will. Monthly plasma output. The input is optional, reproductively speaking. From the waist up, it would be, obviously what you're eating, what you're putting into your mind, what you're watching on TV, what you're, how you're developing your own generational wealth with your children, with your finances, with your spiritual endeavors, whatever the case is in your particular situation, you'll know. But that is definitely something that, yeah. This is the Page of Wands, which is my fire card. This is my personal deck, so please don't copy it, but I'm going to use it for this read. So this is the Page of Wands, which is the fire. And then we've got the signs of personal growth. I think that's literally the way that you can kind of look at the two in conjunction with yourself. So what kind of health are you promoting, and how fast are you pitching the ball? So your cycles, how quickly are they being pitched at you? And this is cycles of the mind. REM sleep is the same thing. You go through REM cycles. the speed at which your brain works. Actually, there's gamma, alpha, beta, a whole bunch of, you can look that up. But these things are actually tangible. It's kind of like with baseball, you use a bat, right? You pitch it out the park or knock it out the park, right? And then when it comes to when we're talking about educating our children about sex ed, we use the baseball, first base, second base, third base, to tell them about the transference of DNA later on. So it's a message that we're sending ourselves and others about our ability to coexist with the other 4 elements. Are we able to transfer fluids, or is it just vapor? Are we able to transfer solids, or do we only know how to transfer vapors? Do we know how to make a vapor out of a liquid? All these things. They could tell us something about ourselves as well. When you're talking about a thought process, you have gray matter. So think about a gray, cloudy day. You've got a thought. So your thoughts use piezoelectricity to communicate between the dendrites in your brain, which are brain cells. They communicate with each other through electrical twitches and impulses. Once they've communicated with each other, your body then does whatever it is that you just told it to do. So if my hand itches and I'm going to scratch it, the first thing that happened was that my hand itched before I even was aware of it or able to necessarily know that I needed to reach down with my right hand and itch my left hand, or my left hand and itch my right hand. Whatever the case may be, your brain is giving your body signals and directions on how to function. So when thinking about your precipitation from a cloud state, or the mental gray space of your mind, the cloudy day, you have a lightning storm that happens with your thought processes and the piezoelectricity. It then causes you to feel happy or sad. And when you're too far off one side or the other, you cry. So when you're extremely happy or extremely sad, you cry. That's precipitation from your eyes, and that's something that even elephants do. I'm not sure that scientists really understand what tears are or what the purpose of tears are when it comes down to emotion. You don't have something caught in your eye when you're sad. You just feel like crying, and your face starts getting, your nose gets clogged, your throat gets gunky, and your eyes start pouring water. It's like I'm leaking water. I don't know if you guys have heard that before, but it's just a body function that even babies know how to do when they first come out of the womb, and nobody taught them how to do that. It's just a natural thing. And so being able to understand how something so simple as plasma and wood, when we're teaching our children about adolescence, maybe that's a great way to do it, is to just let them know about cellular makeup. Talk about baseball. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out there. But in any case, yeah, this could not be more relevant. This is the Devil card in reverse, thankfully. We don't need any of that crazy energy. And I'm not talking about Capricorns. I am not talking to you. I am talking to devil energy that is evil. In this case, sex, shop, work. This is in the reverse, though. So that is what I'm trying to say, is that this series is meant to help anybody who wants to understand how to have the conversations that need to be had surrounding spirituality. So when thinking about spirituality and sex, then these two subjects go together hand in hand. I did do 2 more videos earlier this evening that do also, one of them was just a boat remote and float kind of read, just to give you an idea of what might be going on with you sexually, in love or otherwise. And then the other one was just just go watch them. I'm not going to give a pitch like that, but I do want to read this card. It says, having a baby is a huge responsibility. It's like a 5-star, it's like a 5-year commitment, right? So when we have this flawed idea of what our senses are telling us, is this love or is this lust? Is this plasma? Is this wood? Is this fire? Is this water? Is this earth? Is it air? I mean, there's a lot of different things that go into every situation. So when you're thinking about mysticism or the world around you, even if you don't believe in mysticism or any of what I'm talking about, it just goes to show that when you have a flawed idea, or maybe even an inability to think about the connections between very like almost intangible things, thoughts, processes, the way that your thoughts could be similar as to plasma, you then are selling yourself short, especially with picking partners that are healthy, who you jive with genetically. When you are talking about spirituality, the genetic downloads that we get from being in rotation with the sun in the universe, they're flares that have magnetic kind of influence on us, eventually the solar flares. And then we've also got the pull of the moon that is strong enough to pull on the tides. So we've got moon cycles as women. In the Native American culture, that's what they call menstrual cycles. But then also during Renaissance time, menstruals were the ones who were singers. They were the ones who would walk up and down the streets singing and trying to get just a little bit of advertisement interest for a major production. So it's kind of like the opening act, if you will. Rather than being a sex shop, you can choose to turn that over and just be spiritual about things and make it part of the conversation, because, sex is natural. It's a part of life, but it's also not the only part of life. And when children, or when adults who act like children, some of these people out here do, so do not take it personally, but I'm saying the adults can help the children figure out ways to transmute some of the energy that can be really tough coming from us, because we're the ones that have the ability to shape what we want society to look like. They don't yet have that ability, unfortunately. They might do a much better job. With a little structure. But all I'm trying to say is that whatever you would want to do, you could make that into a reality in the future if it was something that you could incorporate into your DNA, into your plasma structure, your plasma infrastructure of your body, of your manifestations in reality. So this is, the Tower card. This is also a major arcana in my deck. And it just says it's time, basically let it storm. So that's really interesting that I was just talking about mental processes and storms. The word tear has always, this is coming up because this is in the pyramid kind of formation here. The typical tower card is a tower falling over. Mine is a pyramid that is actually strong enough to withstand. And I think when you think about Maslow's hierarchy of need, when you think about tears that come out of your eyes, then they can be tears as in tears, little rips, or tears. They're spelled the same way. Or it can be tears, as in like levels to this. So there's levels to this, and there's more than just earth, air, fire, and water. There's also ophiuchus, which I will be addressing later, and then also, the wooden plasma, as well as you just never know. You can't really put a cap on anything because we've not discovered everything that's here on Earth to discover. That's the beauty of being a human and having the experience of being a person and being a one of those species that has the opportunity to travel around and see something that a slug or a small ant or something couldn't see. So I'm gonna get some maybe just really quickly. I'm feeling like these are not the right cards to use for right now for some reason. I just got the Kim Krantz Animal Spirit Tarot deck, and I guess I'll go ahead and pull from here since there was that realization of completion from it's a little bit of power that we can use to move forward. Those two extra elemental kind of features that are then available to the world to use at their discretion to manifest positivity. There's a movie out there that I would suggest you just go watch with an open mind and a grain of salt. It is called the Zeitgeist Movement, and it's actually, I'm not sure if it's even something that I'm promoting at all. I'm just mentioning it because I really like the way that they remained open-minded, positive, and really painted a picture of how humans could live our lives if we were to take a full advantage of a lot of the benefits that we've got as innovators, to use wind turbines, to use renewable energy sources instead of fossil fuels, to use, whatever rising from the fire that we can, the horsepower, to move forward in a different way. So, in my opinion, this really is the wood and the plasma. This is the horsepower. This is what's going to pull the, they always say don't put the horse, I don't know what don't put the horse before the carriage, or the carriage before the horse, or the baby before the carriage, or something like that. Yeah, baby before the carriage. This is like the baby or the carriage, and this is the baby, or you can choose how this goes. I don't know how this goes for you guys, one way or the other. Okay, it's like the baby and the carriage. I'm also seeing in Greek times just someone in a chariot, like with the, I don't know why I'm seeing that, but I'm just seeing this horse pulling a chariot behind it, doing slalom apparently. So that's cool. I don't know why that was like doing a little rumba for you guys. So in any case, I think that's the point. You can literally kind of put together the way that the rest of this goes. This is the same as birds and the bees. There's a different way of looking at birds and the bees is wood and plasma. But when looking at alchemical symbols, divination, and signs in your life, people oftentimes say they see fish in their dreams before they realize that they're pregnant or something like that. When you think about what you would look at a tadpole and see under a microscope is like, maybe you would be like tadpole or sperm, Tadpole, sperm. Just a different way of looking at it. So these two came out together like this. Things are not going to take off in a black and white way all the time. So we already moved. I'm seeing a black and white TV with a color screen. This is that upgrade that I was just talking about genetically with DNA and in plasma screen TVs. Being able to carbon date things by cutting a tree and looking at the rings along the ridges of the tree as it has developed. I'm just seeing the ridges of the tree here. Great, those the cedars, the great elms, weeping willows. I don't know why I'm seeing all this imagery right now, but I'm just seeing there's a cosmic synergy that is able to be created and projected into the future through creation kind of energy. If this was, I'm also getting right now that I need to mention a mule. So when you let a horse and a donkey reproduce, then they create a mule or something of that nature. And mules are not able to reproduce. They just remain unique. So you can't make a zebra by reproducing horses with other animals necessarily. But that technology between wood, plasma, earth, air, fire, water, empty cells of biology. That's what we don't know yet. Those are the empty ones that have yet to be discovered. So I'm just seeing the telescope looking directly down at a petri dish full of this. Seeing raccoons are largely blind a little bit, so they feel things out. They feel things out. As soon as I said that, the pile fell over and snake came out right on top of the golden egg here. But in any case, I'm feeling that, this, whatever is yet to be discovered, still being felt out. Still being, it's like the rainforest. There's so many different things to be discovered that we can't even discover it fast enough. We're at the bottom of the ocean. Excuse me. That's something that we oughter figure out. Look, there's the bottom of the ocean. Yeah, it's just like there's little pearls of information that can be discovered all over the planet. Really all over every kind of aspect of alchemy, of divination, and of creation, of discovery and creation of something really beautiful that are able to be, I don't know, I just belched as well, excuse me, that are able to be, just seeing this open, talked about. What would you do if you had the chance to mix two animals, only two, any two animals, like an ant and an elephant? Would it be like an elephant that's the size of an ant, or would it be an ant with a trunk the size of a dog? Do you understand what I'm saying? What kind of mystical creature are you capable of creating for yourself? Because that's all we really are. There's another segment that I will do later on animals specifically, but for now, that's all. I'm just going to leave it there. This is that never-ending story dragon right here. If you go back and watch the other reads. It's that dude right there. So, anyway, I hope you guys have a wonderful evening. I am definitely looking forward to continuing this kind of trend with the reads, and I will see y'all next week. Bye.